Who came to the kickoff and overview on Sunday? Okay, good. All right. The rest of you, get out. No, you do not have to attend the first one. All these programs will be recorded. They will all be available on our website. All the materials I hand out, everything. We're giving it all away because we're the public library. For those of you who either weren't here or forgot, it's been 2 whole days. Maybe you were at the UFC fights at the White House and you got punched in the head a lot. It happens. So let's have a very brief recap of what the overview was. The overview was all the, ugh, it's so bad. And hopefully the rest of this series will be, but what can we do about it? Let's make things better. So the briefest of possible recaps, if I may summarize. Big tech's products, which are shoved in our faces daily, are of not so great quality, and they're fundamentally invasive of our privacy, manipulative of our attention, exploitative of our engagement. Oh, that's too many T's. They are made to wrest away our control, ownership, and independence in matters technological. I don't like it, and if you don't like it, we want to help scaffold you up into taking back a little of that. I'm assuming you are all here because you'd like to learn some easy ways to reduce these nefarious effects, right? Right, okay. Don your climbing boots because we are going to take our first steps into the foothills of the mountain of digital independence. And don't worry, this is level 1, so we are not going to immediately be diving into some very complicated tech stuff. Except that the first thing we're going to do is learn a cool, professional, elite term of art from cybersecurity. We emphasize that it is your choice where you find your balance point in opposing things like convenience and privacy. When you are making your choices, do so considering your threat model. Doesn't that sound awesome? It sounds like an adventure TV show from the War on Terror era, you know? Threat model. But what does that mean? Really, it's having an idea of what you actually want to protect, how, and from whom. Who is your adversary? Because you cannot prepare for everything. In professional cybersecurity, and certainly in our lives, we're already overwhelmed. And I think if you do not keep that in mind and be okay with where you make your choices and find your balance point, it's tippy out there. On one side is just sort of nihilism and giving up and, there's nothing we can do. And on the other side, you start hearing things in the walls and you think they're following you all the time. Neither of those is like a healthy place to end up, either personally or with our societal relationship to technology. So one of my metaphors, my frequently used metaphors, which isn't a metaphor, the other two are, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It's an aphorism, but it's a good one. Don't let the fact that we can't do everything stop us from doing some good. We don't want to fall on either side here. We want to find our nice balance point right in the middle. So we do have to consider our threat model, because are we being investigated by the government? That might make us make some choices. Are we targeted for assassination by Vladimir Putin? We've got to be extra careful there. Or are we just normies wanting maybe these data vampires to back off just a little bit? Probably for most of us, and especially here in level 1, that's going to be our target. And the first things we're going to do aren't even techie at all. See, it's not so scary. We're going to trim the excess. Do you have a bunch of accounts that you've opened at various sites and services over the years? Yes, I know the answer is yes, we all do. So retailers from hobbies you no longer do, or social networks you no longer use. Maybe your live journal is still out there, abandoned for so long. Delete them. It's good to scrub your past interactions with these services, because we all reuse passwords and such over the years, don't we? That's one problem. More dormant accounts are more attack surfaces, where someone might be able to get a hold of one password from one breach and try it somewhere else. Or if they're putting together little bits of data on you, your long-forgotten web presence is still out there, dangling in cyberspace. Wherever you can, if you can request that your data be deleted on your way out, that's some good housekeeping to start with. We got more excess to trim. Audit your subscription services. Remember how we talked about everything is turning into a subscription, because it's not enough to sell us something once. You got to just keep pulling that money out. We got to grow. We got to raise that stock price. So we may probably do have a whole lot more hanging around in subscriptions than we realize, than we think about. I know I don't want to think about it, but I've made my choices for a couple that I feel like I can get rid of. And some others, I'm not in espionage. I'm making some compromises. And there are others that my family would kill me if I took away our subscriptions. So I've made my choices, but audit this, both for your own pocketbook and just to stick it to them for not just taking passive income out of you. And then, like me, you have more money you can immediately go profligately waste on woodworking tools and tech gadgets or any of the much better uses you could put that money to. But now, let's turn to our techie things. Let us turn attention to our various thingies. Devices, yes, phones, computers, obviously, apps, but don't forget that now everything is a damned computer, from the TV to the car to the fridge that you paid $2,000 for and it's now showing you ads. You have more power than you might think originally. The way they come from the factory, all ready and happy to help you out and improve our services and all that, is full of ads, every possible invasive setting turned on. There's actually a lot you can turn off if you do some digging. Disable these features, these settings that you don't want, and tune the permissions, now I'm talking on phones and computers, that you do give to apps and things. This is a nice way to do some hygiene, some digital hygiene of yourself. If you go through your list of apps and you got some flashlight app at some point, and when you're looking through the permissions that it's allowed, you see that it can use the microphone. Why would it need to use the microphone? Or that it can root around in other parts of your files or your contacts or something. If an app doesn't need that kind of permission, turn it off and get rid of it if you're not using it. There's already a flashlight app in every device. And dig around in your settings. I think that this is almost like a dark pattern now. One of these things where you're sort of socially engineered by how they present things. But there are 50 zillion settings in every device. I know, because I help a lot of people with a lot of different devices, and I can't remember where Apple has moved this setting or that setting, or there's a lot of digging to do. Now they have usually added a search box. Thank goodness, because that helps you get to what you're looking for, unless they're very clever about what they name it. I've also had that problem. But if you dig around in your settings, privacy and security is always a good pair of words to look for. You can find things like the unique advertising ID that maybe you didn't know your phone had, so that ads can be personalized to you. I'm just wondering, because I'm on one end of this spectrum, but are there people who prefer nice personalized ads? See, I knew it. They all think you really want us to sniff around in everything you do and give you weird, creepy, specific ads that make it seem like they're living inside your head. You can turn off an individual advertising ID, and then that does everything, right? You're totally covered. No, of course not. This is all layered, but there's an easy thing you can do, and it has an effect. Android devices, Apple devices all have this. It's just where they hide it. This looks like it's a Android thingy that I grabbed this screenshot from. Don't you want personalized ads, it'll say? And you can say, no, I don't. And I know everyone's all excited about these new AI features, but that is a lot of data that they are collecting, a lot of your conversations, a lot of personal stuff you might not realize is going to some company that is about to be incredibly desperate for money. And when they look at all that data they have on you and think, we said we weren't going to shove it full of ads or just sell all this data, but we kind of agreed to spend hundreds of billions of dollars to build data centers, and we're not making any money, so let's go for it. That also might be something where you want to be very careful about how much data you're giving up. And when we hit the internet these days, we put on our cool sunglasses, we sit down at our device, and we're ready to go surf the internet. What do? We open up Google and we ask it something. But actually, although they have gone to great lengths to make it not seem this way, Google is not the internet, and there's far more internet out beyond it. There is more out there. And you actually have a choice. We've all settled into this idea that, well, you go on, things are free to use, but now it's becoming more and more apparent that there's a cost to pay. It's just not direct. That's not the only, this whole ad surveillance business model, that's not the only way these things could be done. We've kind of forgotten, but there are different providers offering a lot of these services that are small and up and coming compared to Google, but are offering more and more. You have more choice than you just might know about, and you'll also get the pleasure of resisting the steady march of monopoly. Take that, Google. Do you use, and possibly are sick of, or not, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, AOL Mail, Outlook, Live, Hotmail, whatever Microsoft is calling their thing at the moment? Or do you get your email through your internet service provider like Xfinity? Well, what about some other options? There's Proton Mail. This is a Swiss company that's providing not only encrypted mail, but all kinds of other services. In fact, all of these are building out more services. You know, we don't just use Google Mail. We've got Google Docs and Google Drive, online file storage, all this fun, cool stuff. No one else could have things like that, could they? Well, yeah. All of these providers are building out to some degree that kind of stuff. So collaborative documents you can work on, your own cloud storage that you can get from anywhere. There are other companies. What might be different? You actually have to pay for the service. But remember, if we can remember back before the dominance of Google and Facebook and such, it used to be that if you wanted a good thing, you'd pay for it, right? Directly, honestly, yeah. Hold on to your apples for a bit. They get a special slide because they're special. They're a special company, but we'll talk about Apple. Okay. What are the characteristics of a privacy-respecting mail service like this? What they'll do is encrypt your mail against their own snooping. They store it on their cloud servers, but they don't know. They cannot read it. They do not have the power to read the content of the message. And certainly for Proton, Tuta, I don't know everything about everything here, but if one user of one of these services mails another one, the content of your email is end-to-end encrypted from the sender to the recipient. Now, of course, these may cost money, although Proton Mail has a free tier. I don't know about the other ones. They also may offer some email aliases. This way you can have a throwaway account. You have to sign up for some new retailer or something. You're pretty sure as soon as you do, the spam is going to come roaring in, right? Give them a fake, or it's not a fake email address, it's a real email address, it's just not yours. Meaning that when you're done with all this spam, you can just have it not forward that email to you anymore. Although a lot of these, in fact, all of these are not based in America. They're often in Europe, where there are stronger privacy laws. I don't know where you guys are on the privacy extremist spectrum, but they still do have to obey local laws. Some in the privacy community are very angry at Proton. One, they're doing too much. They want to have independent services. Okay. Two, there was some activist And Proton turned over some information about his payments to Proton to Swiss legal authorities because they had to, because these are not pirates on the high seas or in space where there is no law. You still got to operate somewhere under a law, but it's a lot better. Now, I threw around terms like end-to-end encryption and stuff. Actually, the comparison to real mail is kind of quite helpful. Let's say I had a secret message. This is a descriptor of US and metric thread sizes for screws that I had on my desk. For some reason, I don't know, it's not important. I don't even remember. But this is very secret information that I wish to send to my correspondent, the recipient, my friend Senor Recipiente. He's got his address here on the letter. I have to put that so it can get to him. I've got my return address on the outside of the envelope because we have to know where it comes from. There's a stamp I put on here, and then when it hits the post office, they put a postmark on it that has the date that it arrived to them and like where it did, right? All this is necessary for this to move through the postal service. So what I'll do, I put my message inside here, I seal the envelope, and I send it off to the post office. They know where it's going and where it's from, and they move it through the system, so they add some data. What we'd call this for an email is metadata. It's not the data, the message itself, because they don't open the letter and look at it. It stays closed. So it gets to the recipient, Senor Recipiente. He opens it, he sees the content. The post office did not take the content. Email is a little different. Instead of like sealing the email, let's say I just put a sticker on it. I send the email, the post office gets it, they put their postmark on it, they move it through the system, but they also might take a peek at the message. Now, between me and the post office, it's sealed. There, it's not. It gets to, and I have to tweak it a little bit for how email works. It gets to Senor Recipiente's like post office box, still in the control of the post office. This is more like how we get our mail from IMAP servers, from servers up in the cloud. It stays there. We don't take it all. So in the box where it gets, the post office can still take a look. And they can see, hey, this Franken guy, he's really into screws. So we should advertise some screws to him. Now, like I said, I do woodworking, so yeah, I'll talk about screws, but I don't want to suddenly get screw ads because the post office snuck around in my email. So this is exactly what Gmail does. They provide the service of sending email to and fro, and they say, well, they don't just say it is. When email is going between me and the Google post office, it's sealed. They just don't respect the seal. Once it gets to them, they can decrypt it. End-to-end encryption is when Google post office could not open that seal. What do you think? Thank you. All right, yeah. Because in between, it's moving encrypted with TLS, transport layer security, but to Google, it is not encrypted. It's encrypted. They might store it encrypted, but they can always open it. So it's not quite as private as an end-to-end, not at all as private as an end-to-end message. There's a little problem though. As I said, if it's between two users of these privacy-respecting services, that is, it starts, the entire content of the message is encrypted and it arrives encrypted. Email was not designed for really encrypting everything and keeping it hidden from servers and all of that. So if you use one of these mail services and you're still mailing your friends at Hotmail and Gmail, Google and Microsoft are still going to read that. So it's not end-to-end encrypted in that case. Because otherwise, I mean, you can get yourself PGP, pretty good privacy. It's like instead of just the screw message, I first encoded it with a decoder ring that only I and Senor Recipiente can
encode and decode. Then, even when Google goes to open it, it's gobbledygook. But nobody does this. Only weirdos would do this. So you don't have to think about it if everyone's on one of these services that just chooses to respect end-to-end encryption. So there we are with that. Next. Oof, there's more to switch from, you know. What about just messages with each other? We might use SMS, that's just ordinary texting. We might use RCS, which is, it is an encrypted form of text messaging, and you can do groups and animated smiley faces and reactions and stuff. We might be talking to each other through Google Messages, whatever they call it these days, or Facebook Messenger. WhatsApp is used the world over for very good reasons because it's kind of independent of the whole long-distance phone network. They all have drawbacks to some degree or other. SMS is just right out there in the clear. And all of these depend on the infrastructure of all the companies sending them to and fro. So a privacy-respecting messaging service, there's not a whole lot out there, but the standout right now is called Signal. And that is an end-to-end encrypted messaging service that supports, you can also put your animated GIFs and reactions and things in it. You can have a group. You can accidentally invite a journalist who you didn't intend to in the group. It can't protect you from your own stupidity, but it is the standout right now. We're only at level 1, so don't get ahead of yourselves. There's other very encrypted messaging apps, but no one uses them yet, although they are cool. Okay, and the caveats. No, end-to-end encrypted, that's good. Here's the less good thing. It can't protect you from your device being compromised. This is actually how they would get you. Either targeted malware by some state-level actor that can compromise your iPhone or your Android phone from afar. And then, because the problem is you can see that message, you have to be able to see it. It has to reach an end of encryption and then just get to you. So if they can get at the device, they can get the messages. And when people's Signal device messages have been compromised, it's because of that. However, maybe that's not in your threat model. Although, I don't know, if I insult any more government figures, maybe I'll be looking at that threat model. And then, what's the other thing? Oh, remember the metadata. This is actually much more significant than you might think. Even though they can't read the message, if you're being investigated or tracked down, there's so much to learn in the patterns of when something's sent to whom. They might not even have to, what the content of the message is might not matter, because then they find you and then they get you. But again, who? I don't know. Are we criminals? Not yet. I just want to, sketch out the barriers here, or the determiners. How about social media? I haven't been on social media in a long time, and you know what? I'm fine. But lots of people seem to like it. There's the Facebooks and the TikToks and the Instagrams and the Threads and the X, the Everything app. Now a fine SpaceX product. What's the alternative if you want to take a step out of how they behave? The constant slop, the constant ads, the constant influencers, the just garbage to keep you engaged. Blue Sky is really the only thing out there right now that presents itself to normies in an accessible way. What is the advantage of that? One thing that Blue Sky does, and I don't have an account with them yet, so I read about this, but that algorithm, that all-important thing that decides your feed, the stuff that's pushed towards you, you can actually choose. Do you want to go back to the good old days and just see who you follow and no other crap shoveled in there? Or Blue Sky's feed? Or even some third-party curated feeds? If you're looking for, a curated interest set, there might be some good stuff in there. You get some choice back. That sounds pretty great. And this hasn't happened yet, but what Blue Sky is built on is a decentralized protocol. And what that means is, in the future, you could have different servers that you could take your information to. All these servers cooperate. It's not like a centralized, all Facebook things go into the dark and stormy palace of Mark Zuckerberg where he sits on his throne of skulls. But what if it was, decentralized, man, for the people? It hasn't happened yet, but it has the potential. And if people were to just give alternatives a chance and some interest, maybe they could grow more. Or you could just leave. You could just not use social media. Like I said, I've been doing it, and if the people are saying cool things and sharing cool memes, I'll see them on other media forms. Before social media, we were actually able to communicate with each other and share news and articles and things like that. It did exist, although I know it's harder and harder to remember. Now on to a super, super important thing we can do, and easy. We're going to switch and or harden our browsers. Switching to a privacy-respecting browser and a privacy-respecting, which is my favorite adjective tonight, search engine are some of the most helpful and the easiest things you can do to reduce your exposure to all this tracking and nonsense. Because this is level 1, and because this is confusing, wait, which is which exactly? Browser, search engine? A browser is the application, the piece of software that interprets and displays your web pages. And a search engine is an online service that helps you find pages to go look at. So you could fire up a browser. If you know precisely where you're looking, you don't need a search engine. But if you want to find something new, you do. And if you don't have a browser, you're going to have trouble reaching that search engine. So, as an example, let's pick two lovely companies, Microsoft and Google. Microsoft makes a browser called Edge and a search engine called Bing. If you have a Windows computer, it never shuts up about how, don't you want to use Edge? Don't you want to use Bing? Edge, Bing, Edge. If you accidentally start the Start menu and search for something that's not one of the apps or something, it opens Bing. It doesn't care what your browser is. It opens Edge to go to Bing because that's clearly the best. Google, the company, makes Chrome the browser that has an 85 or 90, or I think it's an 85% market share at the moment. So most of you probably use Chrome. If you think of going on the internet, you do it with that little button, right? So many of us, that's our experience. Google makes the search engine Google, which was their first product back in the days before they changed their stance on being evil. The best thing you can do is not use any of these things, and I want to demonstrate how easy it is not to. There's a lot of words on here, but the point is, people love to fight bitterly about which is the best browser. And I go on these forums about, and I can stand it for a while, and then I have to step back because it gets violent. Fight if you want. Pick one, and you can get all enthused about how much it's better than anyone else, but there's really no need. Just get rid of Chrome or Edge as your daily driver browser and pick one of these. I put them in a couple of categories. And if you don't want to read too much, I tried to put the ones that I think are pretty promising at the top. Here's a category I'm going to call all-in-ones. You get privacy settings and a good privacy-respecting search engine and usually some kind of tracker blocking, even ad blocking, all sorts of privacy features right away. Brave is a browser that is full of also other AI and crypto stuff that you have to turn off if you want to, or I don't know, you can do crypto stuff if you want, but it is an out-of-the-box, has something called Brave Shields that will block ads and trackers quietly in the background without you needing to do anything, and it just acts like a browser, and it just works. Vivaldi is a European one, I think Iceland or somewhere. I think it's somewhere Scandinavian that they're quartered. And they have made a lot of strides lately. They're very customizable. Browsers all have the same purpose. It's like a window. Like any window will do for us to see that tree out there, but it might have nice sash on it, might open in a certain way or another way. You may tick with one of these browsers and it'll be just right for you, and then you can fight about it. And DuckDuckGo, which we'll look at in just a moment, makes a browser. And is there a mobile Alabama version of the browsers that you can put on your phone? Yes, for all of these. So these, they come out of the box ready to go, full of privacy. There's the other browser, besides Chrome, with the longest history, is Firefox. Firefox is it's made by the Mozilla Foundation, and it's different guts under the hood than Chromium. A lot of other browsers are Chromium with stuff on top of it. Chromium is the guts of Chrome. So I think Firefox is worth supporting because it's one of the last standing honest alternatives, that comes from a different background. However, you will have to do some customization and extensions and kind of get it dressed up before it's ready for prime time. It's not a out-of-the-box, fully ready for your privacy browser. Is there a mobile version? Yeah. Fennec is a more privacy mobile one. I like the one called Zen. These are the forks. Firefox is open source. Anyone can look at the code, and anyone who knows what to do with it could take that and say, I'm going to take a fork in the road, and make this a different project aimed at different things. So you get all these things that are Firefox underneath, and then something special on top. I like Zen. LibreWolf would kind of fit in here. Waterfox would fit in here. They're Firefoxes that are privacyed up. And then there's special purpose. Did you know there were this many browsers? They're like viable browsers. Special purpose ones. The DuckDuckGo browser is tuned to have all the DuckDuckGo privacy preserving stuff in it, and then has a special feature where you can click a cool fire button and it goes whoosh, and erases all your history and such. So it's kind of a great second browser for doing things that what you might use a incognito window or in private window, but even better. And it's got a cute duck mascot. Want to get really, intense? We got the Mulvad browser. We got Tor browser. This is all levels beyond. But let me tell you, let me cut to the chase here. Grab yourself Firefox and add a couple of extensions that we're going to look at. Or grab something like Vivaldi or Brave. There, done. The rest is interesting additional information that you can dig into later. Speaking of those extensions, if your chosen browser doesn't block trackers and ads and such already, you can add that ability. Like you can bolt a cool spoiler onto your Honda Civic, you can add an extension onto your browser. The commonly accepted kind of icon for extensions is, and that kind of looks like a small hand giving us the finger, but it's a puzzle piece, I think. You can bolt it in. Here is Franklin's curated list of browser extensions that will, without you having to think a lot or at all, block a swath of tracking elements, scripts, cookies, nonsense that arrives in web pages. Choose one of them because they'll kind of fight. There's not too much of an additional benefit to running multiple of these. But uBlock Origin, I have AdBlock Plus or Blockaday Addy or something you saw in an extension store or somehow came across. Don't do that. There are too many scammy ad block extensions. To be able to block ads, this extension has to have a lot of power. You want specifically uBlock Origin, and don't just search for it, follow my link. The page looks scary. It's the actual developer's GitHub page, but you scroll down and you see your browser and you click. Privacy Badger is made by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, And I love an animal mascot. And this cute little badger lives up in your browser, and you'll see a little number appearing on him. And that is him blocking all kinds of nonsense from the pages that you visit. And you can see what he's up to, and you can even fine-tune his behavior. Now, DuckDuckGo also has a very similar extension and has a cute animal mascot. I'm particularly fond of the badger. Something for us Californians. Congratulations for living here, because we are kind of unusual in that we're one of the few states with some actual privacy laws written into our state law. There's a California Consumer Privacy Act that gives you the power to request deletion of your collected data and to opt out of the sale or sharing of your data. There's something called DROP. It's a data broker, kind of like a do not call list, sort of. You register with the state, and they tell all the data brokers that are registered in the state, don't broker this one. This one's ours. And the data brokers hopefully have registered properly and aren't sleazy, although that entire business seems pretty sleazy to me. But you have the ability to do that. Oh, by the way, you may want to click on these links. Doesn't work here, but you are all getting, Oprah style, not under your seat, but in your email, this presentation with all the links working, so you can actually follow these and go directly to the source. And there's something called the Global Privacy Control, a way to automatically tell websites essential cookies only instead of those damn banners. Europe started this with the GDPR. And so websites, it's like malicious compliance. Anytime you go to a website, first there's a whoop, up comes this banner, and we use cookies to improve our services. Would you like to customize the way? And some of them are a little easier to work, and some of them, they really want you to like fall into this puzzle and spend a long time toggling on necessary, strictly necessary terms like just so we can work the site. They just make you click so many things. And my favorite, I don't remember the site. I wish that I did. The little clicking elements, these cute little switches, you'd click it and it would move. But it was actually like a manual gear shift. It was a hidden other setting that was off. But Californians, sites are obligated under California law to respect if you send the global privacy control indicator that you don't want any tracking cookies beyond what is strictly necessary, first party, don't sell my information, all that. You can say all that without saying a word by enabling it in browsers that support it. Google Chrome does not. They're an advertising company. Oh, they also, they won't let uBlock Origin or similar extensions run in Chrome because it's not safe. They're an advertising company. So get rid of Chrome. Okay, this is a little screenshot from the Firefox settings. Tell websites not to share my data. This kind of, because of California, this advice has kind of changed. There used to be a do not track request. And you'd say, do not track. And websites would say, there's no, yeah, we're tracking you. There was no enforcement, there's no law, sites wouldn't choose not to track you. This means something. And so you can turn that on in your settings, or Privacy Badger counts as this. If you have that extension installed, websites are to not give you all the tracking crap, if I may speak French. You can take your browser once you've chosen it and tricked it out for a test drive, another fine Electronic Frontier Foundation product. Cover your tracks. You can actually test your browser with real trackers, and I have some real computers that I might as well not forget to use to show you. Let's have two combatants come into the ring here. In this corner, the corporate boy, Microsoft Edge. I have not touched this. I have not turned off any of its garbage. We got Copilot, we got sign in, we got personalize my feed. No. We are doing one thing here. We're going to cover your tracks.eff.org. And in the other corner, the privacy pugilists, Mulvad browser. Mulvad is a Swedish VPN company that is one of these takes privacy very seriously companies. Let's set these two head to head. Cover your tracks. EFF.org. Notice Edge remembered that I'd went there, but Mulvad wipes everything out like DuckDuckGo after you leave. Notice something interesting how Mulvad, it's not the same size as the browser window. Your precise browser window size is an element that they can try to track you with. So one of the tracking resistance strategies is to not let that be tied to you. Because the more uniqueness they can find about you, the more they don't have to worry about trying to use cookies and other rather coarse, uncouth methods. What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's not how that went the first time. What are you up to, Edge? Something's going on there. I ran that the first time, and Edge lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, no, you're not blocking ads. No, you're not blocking trackers. Because of course it wasn't. Something suspicious is going on there. But you can check your own chosen browser and see how you're doing with covering your tracks. Speaking of browsers, and now that I've introduced so many browsers, let's talk about default. How do you like this pun? Default ain't just a juncture of continental plates. Huh? Yeah. You can actually have multiple browsers installed at the same time. You can have browsers for different purposes. This is one I only use for work stuff, or this is one I only use for my nefarious activities. I don't know, however you want to do it. Your device, your phone or your computer won't stop you, but there will be one that's the default browser, as in when we're going to go look at some web content. Let's say you're in an email application, you click on a link. What's the thing that pops open? That's the default browser. I think this trips people up sometimes because, again, Microsoft will always be trying to make Edge the default browser. If Chrome is around, anytime you open it, it's like, I'm not the default browser. They all do this. All the browsers fight with each other. They get very jealous of one another. So there's a default browser on your system, which you can set. You can choose which one this is in your settings. And your browser itself will have a default search engine. When you just type something into a search bar, or when you type something into the location bar, I should say. If I wanted to go to CNN and see the news, I'm sure it's bad, I could just go straight to CNN.com. I happen to know that's their address. But if I want to search for CNN, how do we know which is the search engine that's going to be used? In this case, I've already set it to DuckDuckGo. Firefox comes with Google as the default search. Google, but Franklin, you think Google is bad. Google is Firefox's biggest source of money. They pay for Google to be the default search engine. It's all the more reason we should support them and free them from this tyranny. But you can very quickly, and I suggest that you do, immediately change your default browser. And if you want to search without being tracked all over the place, we got two rules. Get away, Google, and be gone, Bing. We're not going to be using you. There's a little bit of a problem. The web is big. The internet, it's kind of a big place. It's a big job to actually go out there and index all the pages that you can see and then turn it into a search engine. Right now, there are only really two big main search engines out there who have done all this indexing of the web: Google and Bing. Those two right there. And they track the dickens out of you, everything you search for. Ooh, that's interesting. Let's write it in the great book of your life. And they present the results the way they want you to see them. You may remember from the last class when I complained about how there was a point where Google executives exchanged emails saying, we need more money, make search worse, so they have to run more searches. I don't like any of that. You got a couple of options, though. Because those are the big boys, they've got all the data, the search, the indices. You could put some anonymizing armor in between you and them. DuckDuckGo, which also makes browsers, just like Microsoft makes Bing the search engine and Edge the browser, DuckDuckGo makes DuckDuckGo the browser and DuckDuckGo the search engine, which is particularly confusing. But it's a search engine. You don't have to use the browser to use their search engine. There's one called Startpage, which is either out of the Netherlands or Belgium. DuckDuckGo gets results from Bing, but Bing does not see that you are the one making the searches. DuckDuckGo has chosen to not be in the business of tracking you for everything as an individual, for everything you search for. If you search puppies, you will see a couple of ads related to puppies because they can't do it for nothing. Elon Musk could for a good long time, but they can't, do their service for no money. So there's ads, but it's only related to what you just searched for, and they don't follow you around. So you get the Bing results, which they're okay. But you get them without Bing's tracking. Startpage gets results from both Google and Bing and does the same sort of thing. Puts anonymization in between you and them. They'll even do things like proxy you when you go to look at an image, so it's not your device being tracked to go look at that image. A little odd thing about Startpage, though. They're great so far. They were bought by an ad company that hasn't done anything to them yet. Bought or like a controlling interest was taken. It's a little, I don't know. So far, they're actually pretty good. And they make a mobile browser too, but I'm leery. And you know what they don't have? A cute animal mascot. Or option 2. Yes, these are the big ones, but there are upstart search engines building their own indices and trying to go it alone. And you can support them. Brave, remember the browser, not only can you do weird crypto things in it, if you want, or turn that off, but they also have a project where they have a search engine that they are building. So you can try that, and you don't have to use the browser to use Brave Search. All these links will take you to these search engines, and there are instructions there for trying them out as your default if you want, or just trying them out. And then there's Mojeek, which I love the name. They're out of the UK, and they are also building an index, and they are very scrappy and privacy forward, and they have a good blog about leaving big tech behind, a lot of good advice. Their search engine, their results are, they're not there yet. I love them, but then I have to go back to DuckDuckGo. I'll start at Mojeek, but they're getting better. They're getting there. We're getting better. Now, I did say we would talk about our friend, Apple. This is a sort of special case. I have enjoyed trashing the big tech companies. Apple, remember the Apple commercials where the cool guy is an Apple and then John Hodgman, the nerd, is the PC? I always resented that because I'm a nerd and I never had Macs. I was a PC person. So I just have to get over that as I talk about this. But I will say, Apple has different incentives than like Google, like Meta. Those others a lot of their business is advertising, tracking-based advertising. Apple is a hardware and software and services company that's more like direct to its customers. They are also generally better on just about all aspects of privacy. I mean, they do some advertising and they do some tracking of you, and there's an Apple advertising ID to turn off and that sort of thing. But I have to say, it's less. They're not wonderful, but they're considerably better than the other companies. And there's extra security features. These are more like, when you read about what these do, this is more your threat model is enhanced. You're crossing the border or something. There's lockdown mode for your device that will lock it down a lot, make it really unpleasant to use, really, because a lot of the fancy features go away, but a lot of those fancy features, the way websites work with scripting and stuff, are also an attack surface. You can put your device in lockdown mode. You can do advanced data protection for iCloud, and that is, if you turn that on, it's like sealing the envelope against Apple. The iCloud files that they have in storage, they can't decrypt themselves anymore. But be careful, because they also can't get those back for you if you if you can't get them back. Always a seesaw to think about. It wasn't perfectly clear. I know, it's complicated. It was about these two features? Yeah, it makes it more like the letter, where Apple cannot decrypt your iCloud files and get them for you if you cannot. If you have lost your login information, that kind of thing. It makes it more risky if you haven't also made a backup of them somewhere else, But it means that if law enforcement comes to Apple to say, hand over those files, either because you are an international criminal or because the government has gotten terrible and decided that you're a criminal, they just can't. They can't do it. So it's a privacy, but you might lose access if you're not careful. But there is a thing about how at Apple, you are in their walled garden. They want you in their services. Their services are good, but they want you to use iCloud and their password manager and their music store and their everything. If you don't mind being in their nice, pleasant, sunny walled garden, then that's that may be the exact right place for you, and that's fine. They are restrictive. They'll limit your choices. You can't add nearly as many extensions to Safari, the other browser that we hadn't mentioned. Apple has made Safari its own browser based on yet another technology called WebKit for a long time, but it is very Appleized. You can do very little to it, although it does a lot itself. And actually all these browsers do quite a bit of cookie prevention and keeping things from interacting with each other. So there's that as a trade-off. This is from the Simpsons episode, the Halloween one, where the school staff are raising and eating the children. And I have in the past made the comparison that when Apple or Google is very concerned about your privacy and your security, it's keeping you private and secure from others, from other big companies. They want to keep you in their flock, and like shepherds, they also eat you. So your homework, this is amazing. How did I do this? Look at that timing. Your homework, should you choose to accept it, you don't have to. I'm not going to grade anything. I'm not going to put out that kind of effort. But sit yourself down with this presentation, which I will email to all of you who registered tonight. And if you didn't register, it'll be on our website. Send it to all. I mean, please. This is the library. I'm casting these seeds out into the world. And a trustworthy guide. I picked one that is they call it, immediate privacy wins. They're level 1. Kind of the first quick stuff you can do. And start climbing that mountain. And first of all, say here's someone on Blue Sky, clearly has their head screwed on straight. Support these data centers: schools, libraries, bookstores. Yeah, I love it. I'll see you all, or whoever wants to come, on Thursday, also 6 p.m. This is our small group workshop. I'm sure it was wonderful hearing me go on and on and on about things without being able to try them. This is your chance. We'll have other library staff here. We'll kind of make these cute little tables like centers, like back in elementary school. I'll have handout material to give you steps to go through for any particular goal you want to go through. It's going to be fun. Probably rustle up some snacks. Come by and we'll spend an hour, like much more hands-on, where you can actually put this stuff into practice. I think that's an important part that we do. If that's still not enough for you, we also do one-on-one tech appointments for half-hour slots. You can make an appointment with a librarian, and I've upped my number of slots. It'll be mostly me for the summer, and then I'll collapse, exhausted. But we can, of course, talk about library tech stuff like ebooks and things, but also this sort of thing, tech generalist stuff. So please do make those appointments up at the reference desk. Find all this on our website, and that's me if you want to email me, fwalther@cityofmillvalley.gov, and I believe that's the end of the slideshow, which means we can get back to those questions. And thank you all for coming and sitting through it all. Yeah.